Well, regular listeners on KSMO Radio know that every 2 weeks you get to hear that song, and when Gene Autry sings that intro, we know it's time for an interview with Darrell Skiles from South Central Regional Stockyards. Darrell,
good morning, Bob. Good warm morning again.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It is. But we're going to get a little break maybe here in a day or two. We just have to wait and see. You know how old Mother Nature is. She's just going to make us suffer for a while, and then
That's
we'll
right.
go the other way.
That's right. But hey, it's August, right?
It
August
is.
in Dent County, Missouri. You're going to have warm. 2 weeks ago it was real warm when we were on, but then it cooled down. We had a little kind of last week. We had a little stretch of cooler weather, but we had a stretch of pretty hot weather a couple of weeks ago, and then we had a little deal of cool weather, and so. But anyway, it's cooled down a little bit, and back. But now it's starting to heat back up, and so it's that time of year. We're gonna have 90 degrees. Somebody was complaining here the other day to me about how hot it was and stuff, and I got to looking. I write down generally about every morning when I first wake up what the temperature is, and we got a little electronic thermometer thing. It gives me the outside temperature every day and what the low is and the high. But at any rate, what I was getting at was I think it was 2012 at that particular date and time here a couple of weeks ago, 2012, we'd had 20 plus days of 100 degrees and higher.
Yeah.
And very little rain, and it was pretty brutal. So it's been hot and so on, but I don't think we've had any 100-degree days yet, and we've had rain earlier in the summer. Now we could use some rain.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah,
we could use that rain.
We could use rain now. I think you got a little rain in town here yesterday.
We did, just enough. It might have. I think it was a 3-incher, about 3 inches between drops.
Yeah.
No, the pavement did get wet, but
So
that just pretty well raises the humidity about all it really does.
Yeah.
And we're kind of the same way down south too. I think we had maybe close to a tenth, but anyway, Mother Nature will open up those clouds here one of these days, and we'll start getting some rain, and everything will be.
Yeah. Out where I'm at in what I call the great Southwest Desert part of Dent County, we almost got enough to settle the dust.
Yeah.
Not quite, but that's okay. We're green still and pretty, as far as at least in the valleys. It's burning some up on the ridges. But while this temperature's been kind of an up and down deal and so on, like it usually is, this cattle market's been kind of an up and down deal, but mostly up.
Mostly up.
Mostly up.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago we had a deal on Thursday. It was just a strange deal. The futures fell out of bed, and we lost over a period of time there about $6 to $8 a hundred on feeder cattle futures. And then they come back. Well, we had a cattle on feed report and an inventory report, and it came back very bullish on what our numbers were in the feedlots, what the placements were in the feedlots, and just again reemphasizing the fact that the cattle just aren't there. And and the demand is. Now the inverse of that is it looks like, Bob, across the grain growing parts of the United States, we have an excellent grain crop, corn crop particularly getting ready to come in. Be pretty hard to hurt the yields things on that. It's probably going to be a near record bumper crop again. Your family, you all, a lot of your families up from grain country up north Missouri, you've seen it.
The crops up there just look phenomenal, and of course they're a little ways yet from harvest, and a lot of things can happen. Again, we go back to Mother Nature, and we've had that term that's we really weren't familiar with till about 20 years ago, the first derecho that we really had that really woke us up and said, hey, this thing happens, and
things happen.
It'll put everything on the ground just about, or at least lean it way over. And when those come across Iowa or Illinois or Indiana, then it's devastating. And so we're a ways yet from having that crop in the bin, but at least the forecast is pretty good for the yields at this point.
You mentioned that derecho hurricane. Actually, May the 8th, 2009 will be burned in my memory, probably forever, because that's when we had the derecho hurricane hit here in Dent County. We had 90 to right at 100-mile-an-hour straight winds, and torrential rain came with it here too as well. But I know there was another derecho hurricane blew across Iowa, and as you say, up in that grain part of the country. And, but it was kind of a narrow swath of where it really, really wiped out the corn. Knocked it flat, just flat.
Took their bins, their infrastructure out. It was
a mess. Terrible.
It's just, there's not really a good way to describe it except it's a tremendous mess.
But for right now, the prospect of the grain is good. all across the major grain growing areas, and they'll be starting to work on those here shortly. Now we had a kind of a late spring, and a lot of that corn didn't get out till much later than normal, I think.
I just by chance yesterday was watching one of the YouTubers that I follow, and he's down in Alabama, which is a different situation than what we got to. But he was just starting combining some corn, harvesting some corn, and it was running 265 to 275 bushel the acre.
Wow,
tremendous yields.
Yeah.
And of course, if that makes it into the bin, and it does like that all the way across the country. Of course, we're not in. You get North Missouri, that's not 250 bushel corn, but some people do grow it in isolated instances, and so time will just tell what we wind up with the bins and how that affects the cattle market and vice versa.
Well, we know for a fact there will be a lot of cattle. A lot of that corn will be marketed through cattle being fed, and the last I seen there, sounded like corn prices were getting down in the right near $4, if not falling below $4 a bushel.
Some of the futures I saw this morning, some of the futures were under 4.
Under 4, okay.
Yep.
I didn't look up the recent on that. I did look at fat cattle and feeder cattle futures. But at any rate, our market on feeder cattle, though, is great, and a good bit of that due to the fact that we have an excellent buyer interested in these cattle, for a lot of these cattle to go to farmer feeders that they like to feed cattle. They like to feed Missouri cattle, and they really like to feed our South Central Missouri cattle. And we've got some excellent buyers who do a great job of buying those. Back when it was so hot, a couple of weeks ago, we had some short sales just because it was so hot. We had some really nice strings of cattle, folks interested in selling this past week. We had those cattle. They showed up. We had a little over 1,000 head, and again, the feeder cattle market was just outstanding. We talked a minute ago about how cattle feeder futures had been kind of a yo-yo and up and down, but actually these feeder futures have turned around and bounced back, and they're at record levels now on fat cattle, finished cattle, as well as on the feeder cattle as well. And I'll get into more of those. Well, we'll talk about the feeder cattle futures here. To give an idea of a little bit of what's driving this feeder cattle market. And yesterday, feeder cattle futures actually were up another $4.10 just yesterday. So feeder cattle futures yesterday for August closed at $349.12.5. That's dollars per hundredweight. 2 weeks ago when I was on here, that was $349.12.5. 2 weeks ago they were $329.
$20.
$0.75.
Yeah.
$329, almost right at $20 a hundred higher than what they were 2 weeks ago for August feeders. Now we're coming up on the date that they'll be converging and ending. We'll be looking further out. But November futures yesterday closed up $6.95 a hundred, closed at $347.10 just even for those November futures. And typically, those November futures will be down a little because that reflects a time when all these spring calves are coming to market and showing up. But that's $347.10 yesterday for feeder futures for November. 2 weeks ago, they were at $316.275, $316, so $21 a hundred. Actually over that, almost $30 a hundred, isn't it? Almost $30 a hundred gain from 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's unreal. Compare that with a year ago. Now, a little further out in August, because I didn't have a year ago to date, but I was looking back on my reports. On August 22nd, a year ago, those November futures that we were just looking at that closed yesterday at 347. On August 22nd, a year ago, they were 231. So we're over $1, about $1.16.
Isn't that phenomenal?
A pound. Yeah, over what they were. So again, this is reflecting those the numbers situation was at, but it's also reflecting the great demand, the
tremendous demand in our country. Yeah,
it is. It is.
In fact, the production is, of course, not an all-time high because of the shortage of beef in the United States itself. But I'm just reading this week that imports are at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Which, as a cattle producer, that's kind of a dirty word, but the other side of the coin is we have the demand, you got to feed it. And if we don't have those imports, then the prices become astronomical, and the demand has to go the other way.
Right.
Just because people don't have the dollars to pay for that good protein that that they're really wanting to put in their.
But you know,
keep
those
in their diet.
imports by and large won't be on the beef that you're going to the to your restaurants and
No.
buying. That those
Oh,
imports
no.
are going to be on lean, what they call
Yep.
lean trimmings, basically cow and bull beef meat, grass fed, older animals that they'll import, grind that, and they'll mix that with some of the fat. We have a lot of fat trimmings from those all the cattle we're marketing, and it will be mixed with it to make that hamburger. If we're gonna, and you know, hamburger is king at the grocery
is.
store and at McDonald's and Burger King, and it's good product, and it's you know, it's overseen. Yeah, it does kind of gripe us in this business that we're importing.
It
All this
does,
beef, but
but
we're importing stuff that we can't produce enough
You
of,
have to look at the big picture.
and it's getting mixed with our own product to make enough
Right.
to meet that market.
Now,
So-
of course, the next argument that pops up in the beef industry and actually livestock industry itself is, well, the consumer doesn't know where that meat's coming from, whether it's U.S. raised or whether it's Argentine beef or Brazilian beef or Mexican beef. Of course,
Right.
right now we're not letting any Mexican beef into the country, but that'll change someplace down the road.
Somewhere down the road, there's a problem going on with a new variety of screwworm. It's out there. They call it, what is it, new NWS, New World Screwworm, out there, and the U.S. is frustrated that Mexico is not doing enough to control that, and that's a problem for the live animal producer. It's not a problem for the product, but it's a problem for live animal, the cattle producers, and so we're working on that. But you know, but again, anyway, but yeah, it is an issue that's out there on how do we identify that meat that's being brought in, and it's being mixed with U.S. beef and so on. So we'll let the experts at the cattlemen's organizations and our legislators work on those issues. But in the meantime, the demand for our product is at a great all-time level, and the product that we're producing is at a fantastic all-time level as well.
And
But
it's the
anyway,
best product probably we've ever produced, just because through genetic improvement, not genetical, genetic improvement, and just what we've learned over the years. Cattle feeders do a better job of producing an outstanding product than we did 20, 25, 30 years ago. So
Yep.
The consumer is getting
But those
really good product.
but those feeders, those guys that are buying them, they are demanding a better product on the feeder end, and we're producing it. And
Absolutely.
And those people buying it will say that they don't buy any better cattle anywhere in the world than right here in Missouri. And you know, that's why we're at the top, right near the top on the feeder cattle production across the United States.
Yep.
We'll never beat out Texas simply because of the sheer vast number
Right.
of acres that they're able to run cattle on. And Oklahoma, it's always kind of a back and forth between Missouri and Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma fudges their numbers so they can come in second, but
Could be.
I don't know. But anyway,
Nebraska's really coming on. I was just reading
Yes.
this week. They've been getting some rains, and in those sand hills where they've been dry, now they're starting to turn around with their numbers and producing
Yeah.
some excellent beef, and their numbers are working their way up.
lots of excellent producers in Nebraska.
Absolutely.
And they have the luxury of sitting there where they're already close to the feedlot and hardly any transportation costs of selling. And you'll see some excellent price numbers coming out of sales there in the Nebraska area for feedlots there in that Kansas and Nebraska area. But anyway, the live cattle futures as well. August, actually yesterday, they closed up another 285. Live cattle, fat cattle futures closed at 239.15 yesterday. But we're selling a lot of live fat cattle in the major trading areas in that 240, 245 range, and even a little higher,
Yeah.
as the demand is there, and packers are having to get out and bid up if they're going to get them. So it all looks good, and what that all translates into is excellent feeder cattle prices. And this week, and I'm looking here, Bob, at the USDA, Missouri Department of Agriculture Market News Service market report, and I'll just give you some of the numbers off of this. And the market reporter called it, as I said, we had some lighter sales the last couple of weeks before due to the heat, and we just kind of put off folks that was wanting to sell to let it cool down a little. This week it worked out. Again, had good numbers. Market reporter called the feeder market this week, feeder steers and heifers, $20 to $30 100 higher, 20, 30 cents a pound higher than the last trend going back, say, 3 weeks ago when we had something really good to compare with. Slaughtered cows and bulls would have been probably steady to firm, a little higher maybe, but on these, and I'll just kind of give you some examples on this feeder report that Market Reporter drew up here on this medium and large number one steers. Had a few really real nice little kind of lightweight steers, but we had some prices we've never really seen much before. Some calves averaging 266, and the price range was 545 to 601 a pound, with an average price of 592 and a half a pound on those. Now those were lightweight calves, but that's still a lot of dollars on a little old 260 pound calf that for whatever reason was pulled off the cow. Some little older bottle calves really is what they were to me. But we get on into more of the weights that we're more accustomed to. We had some awful nice 400 average 435 pound steers, bringing 494 to 507 and a half a pound. Get on into some of the five weights. Quite a number of calves averaging about 580, bringing 395 to 422 a pound. That was an average price of 410 a pound for an average price per head, and no notes on this of being value added or anything, just calves off the cows, I'd say, for the most part. $2,378 a head. Get on in here into some of these six weights. Let me get back up here. Yeah, it's 580 pounders at 410 a pound. Get on into some of our six weights, 621 pounders, average 372.80, and these were unweaned calves.
Yeah.
Some pretty good size old 6-weight calves, probably late fall calves. Then hung on to, and they just pulled them off the cows. 372.80, 2,315 bucks a head. Get on into, we had some awfully nice 7-weight calves, bringing weight 719, bringing 346 to 373 a pound. Had an average price on those 367.93 a pound. It's $2,645 a head for those 719 pound calves. Makes me and you wish we'd weaned those fall calves and just kept them around somehow.
It does.
But that's all right.
It is.
I'd never begrudge a guy making a little money on the calves.
Put in 2 months of, I would have pulled my calves off and backgrounded them, or got them on some good supplement and waited a while, but it's all right.
Yep, that's right.
You have to make decisions, and then you have to live with your decision. You have to say at the time it was the right thing to do.
Well, they done fine. Mine, yours, we both sold back here near the same time, and I'm very happy with what they brought in.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of folks that sold some really nice bunches of cattle, and they were very happy. And you got to hope the guy that buys your calves makes some money on them, because if they don't, he's going to bid less next time, and that's just the way it works. So
he can't lose money, or he's not going to be back sitting at that ring raising the price on the next year's or the next bunch.
That's right. Anyway, go on. Then, of course, the heifers, feeder heifers are always behind what their steer mates would have brought. But just looking here, just to give you an idea, we had some really nice 500 average 510 replacement quality heifers. 510 pound brought an average of 425.45 a pound. Get on into some of the little bit heavier weights, 579 bringing 353 to 380 a pound. Get on into even onto the 600 pounders. Had some a bunch of pretty nice heifers weighing 603, averaging 355 a pound. Get on into little heavier weight 6-weight heifers, 682 pound heifers, bringing 326 to 353 a pound. So just pretty good prices right across the board. It wasn't that long back we were just ecstatic to see these feeder cattle averaging $2,000 a head.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing lots of these calves bringing. Had a gentleman this week there sold a set of calves right off the cow. He was trying to decide if he's going to take them home and wean them or go ahead and move them. I hate myself weaning calves when it's this hot, putting them in the lot and putting to that, especially when they're bringing the price they are. There's people that buy cattle that are set up to do this probably better than I am as far as shade and seeing them all the time and stuff. But gentleman sold some calves there, brought almost $2,300 a head right off the cow, and was just really happy that he didn't mess with weaning them. Now,
That's
if
just
he
a phenomenal price.
was in a position to do it, to wean them, keep them around for 45 or 60 days, good chance them calves will bring an extra $200 to $300 a head. But you got to, you know,
There's an investment.
it's
in
stressful on the
an
calves,
expense.
and if I'm weaning them, it's stressful on me weaning calves.
Absolutely.
Especially in this heat, it's just a challenge, and you better have the shade and the facilities to do it and do it right,
no
and
kidding.
plan on keeping them around.
Yeah.
But at any rate, that's just a freebie thrown in there for advice on that. Our cows, the breaking and boning cows, as I said, were probably steady. It looked to me like he could have called it a little higher, but the bulk of our slaughter cows would have been in that the bigger breaking boning cows weighing say 12 and a half to 15 or 1,600 pounds would have traded in a range of about $1.58 to around $1.69. Some of our boning cows a little lighter, but some of them probably a little higher dressing even of cows trading about $1.54, weighing 1,200 to say 1,400 pounds, $1.54 to $1.71 and a half per pound. You know, not that long ago we'd have been tickled to get $1.71 a pound on some feeder steers. Now we're getting that on some big slaughter cows. Then you get on into your little smaller, lighter cows. If they're in good shape, they're just smaller, lighter, and possibly a little older. Cows weighing 1,014 to 1,100 pounds or so, bringing $1.20 to around $1.50, 55 a pound from your low. That's on your average and low dressing cows. Get on into our slaughter bulls. If you got some old big slaughter bulls out there that you're not going to keep it for another season, it's an awful good time to move them slaughter bulls. We've talked about this probably every market report I do for the last several months.
Yeah.
But these old slaughter bulls, from a lightweight bull weighing a little over 1,000, around $1.19, to these bigger bulls, or no, let me back up. These lighter bulls weighing in the 1,700 pound range, somewhere in that $1.80 range, to these bigger bulls, high dressing bulls, bringing up around $2.14, $2.13, $2.14. Sold a slaughter bull for a gentleman this week, and I believe he brought $4,130 for that bull. And he wasn't a ton bull either, but he was a big, stout, high dressing 1,930 pound bull, bringing $2.14 a pound, $4,100 for bull to go slaughter. But that kind of goes into that deal we're talking about, how these slaughter cows are bringing, and these that's hamburger trade is what they're going to, and there's just great demand, because that's, you know, you look at how many hamburgers that we're selling through McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and all the burger deals. That's a big commodity. Had a few bred cows this week, not many, but not as many as we had week before. We had a special cow sale a couple of weeks before, but we had a few bred cows, mostly middle to older cows, third stage cows, bringing that $2,500 to $2,900 plus. So, of course, there's excellent demand on good bred cows, because it's just hard to find the good bred cows to go back to the farm. We will do have some folks that are going to sell about 20 or 25 head. They're going to be a complete dispersal of a small herd of cows will be coming up, and we'll announce that ahead of time. But they're going to be coming up here sometime in the next couple of 3 or 4 weeks. Be some all ages cows on that, mostly all black, and bred to really good bulls. So that'll be coming up down the road at South Central Regional Stockyards at one of our future sales. So otherwise, coming up, no real big. We're really in that in between time, kind of on these cattle. You know, with these prices like they've been, especially these yearlings, there's just not a lot of yearlings out here across our country that haven't already been moved, and we're just a little early yet on these spring calves. People generally will hold off. Now, we will be coming up on a time here, Bob. There's going to be a heck of an acorn crop this year, it looks like, across the country. And acorns play havoc, especially on young cattle, on cows too. But, you know, these feeder calves, the price they're bringing, if somebody's got some cattle out there and they're out there where they can get to the acorns come September, they might want to think about moving these calves a little earlier than they normally would. If they can't wean them, get them home and get them off the acorns and get away from them, why, they might want to think about moving those calves a little earlier than they normally would, just to save the acorn thing, especially with the price they're bringing. Now, we're going to soon be entering a time when even the farmer feeders that normally will be buying these, they're going to get busy in the fields, and and they'll not be in the market so much, especially for balling calves. But the demand is good enough. I think we're probably going to be in better shape on those calves than what we would be most years. But again, as we talk about these prices, and we're talking about even what these unweaned calves are bringing, I can tell you though, if you've got cattle and even the gentleman I talked about earlier that sold some calves right off the cow this week, bringing right at 2,300. He actually had already been getting these cattle in shape to wean and had given them 2 rounds of shots. So they actually were a value-added prospect, even though they hadn't been weaned. Get a couple of rounds of shots in these calves. Get a hold of me. Let's talk about the Starback program. We've got programs there where let's get those calves weaned. Or if we don't get them weaned, let's get them tagged. And a lot of these cattle, we've got buyers every sale bidding on the internet via DV auction. And when those calves come in the ring carrying those green Starback tags or the red Starback tags or the new white Starback tags, it's very visible on the cameras that these are value-added calves. And talk to us about that. And but if you are going to sell them off the cow, do everything you can to get a couple of rounds of shots in those calves to add some value to them.
And Dave and Ross, as their auctioneer, and they always do make sure that whoever's observing, whether it's right there in the ring or on DV auction, they know where those calves are in terms of
Absolutely.
the Starback program, and so that is a definite benefit to producers.
Yep. Dave Patton, son Bill Patton is the other
Bill,
auctioneer.
excuse me. Yeah.
Ross
is back there sorting.
Ross is usually right behind the door
Yep.
getting them in. And I'll tell you, if you bring cattle up any time before the sale Monday or up there Tuesday, Ross will be back in the barn back there overseeing things, where the cattle go, and that the pens are taken care of, and he's kind of barn manager back there through that. Bill's everywhere. Bill will be back there too, and Dave's everywhere too, but he's turning more and more of the day-to-day operations over to Bill and Ross, and he's still the big boss and run things until he jumps in, but he's leaving that up to Ross and Bill to take care of all of that.
Well,
and,
he's getting to that point
Dave's,
in life. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yep, and of course Dave's on the phone constantly though with different buyers and what they're looking for, and visiting with about what we got coming and so forth and so on. So everybody works together real good, and but the boys are very hands-on, and it is nice where Ross knows where everybody's cattle are at before the sale ever starts.
Yeah.
And,
Bill, I'm sorry. Forgive me for that, if you would.
oh,
please.
he won't care.
I know he doesn't, but if he'll listen to this program, I will make sure he knows.
Bill generally auctioneers pretty much the entire cow sale.
Yeah.
And Dave, he and Dave will switch back and forth on doing the feeder cattle sale. So a lot of times Bill will be back in one of the barns doing quite a bit of sorting before we get very far along in the feeder sale. So anyway, it's a family operation. Bill's wife Laura is in the office. If you call the barn anytime, good chance Laura Patton will be the one to answer the phone. And she's really the boss that keeps everybody lined out and on
Gotta
task
be one.
and keep us. Yep, you know how that goes. So anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of in between time. We'll have some cattle this week. Don't expect a great big run, but we've got great buyer interest, and if we have a lighter run, a lot of the buyers will stay home, pull it up on the computer, and they'll turn around and keep on buying and line the trucks up accordingly. So, and again, you can always tune in and watch the auction at South Central Regional Stockyards. You can pull it up on DV auction, watch the sale. If you're interested in buying, you can go ahead and get registered to buy online as the cattle are selling. And I think most people, the buyers, feel real good about what they're seeing on the cameras, what's coming through the ring, good quality, and we don't slip something in because hope they won't see it. So that's kind of where it's at, Bob. Just
right,
an
Darryl.
excellent market. Cattle are higher than we've ever seen before. One of these days, that worm will turn the other way. But we're in a good position to be selling cattle at good prices for some time, and but there's a lot of different things a person can do to add 50, 100, $150 value to these cattle, even so. So if you're selling very many, that's still a good chunk of change to be looking at. What can we always do to help, and we're always looking at that, what we can do to help the buyers, help the sellers add value to the cattle, because the bottom line is it's the sellers that pay the commission and pay the bills, and we got great buyers and we appreciate them, and we do everything we can to take care of the buyers and their cattle, and so on, and we hear good reports from the buyers. That's one of the things they really like about South Central is how good a care we take care of their animals. You know, we were talking earlier about it was pretty warm Wednesday, and but through the sale, and I was kind of watching to see. I really didn't see any animals that really were hot at all. We've got good pens with shade, water. We've got good outside pens with netting for shade, and then we've got good overhead lines, provide sprinklers and water after the sale as they're penned, and it all helps. So give us a call anytime.
Those numbers?
You can call Dave Patton anytime, 573-308-6655. You can call Ross or Bill Patton. Ross Patton's number is 573-308-6657, or Bill Patton's phone number is 573-308-6658, or you can call me at any time. My cell number is 573-308-5415, or of course you can feel free to call the barn, 573-422-3305, and if somebody doesn't answer at any of those numbers, leave a message. Somebody will get back to you. Guarantee you that. Anytime you want some of us to come and visit with you on the farm about what you've got, what you're thinking about selling, give a call. The guys will be more than happy to stop by, get down here and visit with you, or I'll come visit with you, and we'll talk about what's going on and what a good marketing plan would be. And I have people, well, just like this week, a gentleman called on Tuesday, what he had and what he's thinking about doing, and we visited, and he decided to sell some calves.
Pulled the trigger.
Cow. Yep, just with the prices they were bringing, and the situation with the weather and heat and weaning, that's what he decided to do, and he was extremely happy afterwards. And so a lot of times we can help you over the phone, talk about it, be more than happy to. And at any rate, from South Central Regional Stockyards, that's pretty well sums up where we're at right now.
All right. Just a little preview into when you're going to be back. Is that going to be the 22nd of the month?
I believe it will be August the 22nd.
Yep. Which is be here before we know it, won't it?
Will be. Time's flying. I can't believe we're at this point in the year. But overall, Bob, as I mentioned, if anybody ever sees my Facebook post or whatever, I think most anybody would have to agree it's just a great time to be in the cattle business.
It is.
And
it is.
You know, about the biggest mistake you can make right now is just not have any. And you know, so and we can help you with that. You know,
Yep.
we have we'll have some good cows show up, and we help people get some cattle bought. And I tell you, you know, we talk about these real good prices, and I've mentioned this before. You know, if you don't have any, or if you've got some but you've got some old cows, and the fact is these cows get old quicker than we realize. And if you're going to have cattle, you've either got to save some heifers, or you've got to buy some heifers or buy some cows.
Mm-hmm.
And while these heifers, replacement heifers, seem to be high, and they are higher than they've ever been, the fact of the matter is, though, it really is kind of an interesting thing. It's kind of an opportunity to replace with really excellent quality heifers, because there's a lot of folks not keeping any heifers out of these with the prices they're bringing. They're just selling heifers along with everything else and paying down some bills and replacing equipment.
Well, based on the numbers you've shared here this morning, we sell an old cow, and she's going to bring something in the neighborhood of $1,000, $1,200,
or $1,500 or $1,800.
or she might be, depending on
how big she
I'm
is.
thinking that low
You're
end,
the way down low.
canter and cutter type cow. But then you can turn around, and at 23, 24, 25, you can probably and depending on what you want, depending on your desires in terms of the animals you want to have in your herd, you're going to really cut that price down on what you're going to pay for that replacement heifer or cow, whatever the case, if you can find them. Finding the ones that fit your particular program, that can be pretty difficult.
It can be.
The demand.
But at this particular time, on some of these big strings of cattle that are selling, some of these heifers are, they're selling the cream of the crop of the heifers, and there's some excellent genetics going through the sale, going for heifers and they're leaving. So if you really want to jump in, and we can help identify where some of these heifers are coming from, that'd be the really the right type to take home. That would make you some excellent cows, probably be better cows than you ever had even yet, and down the road. And it'll always pay you to have, if you're starting in, especially with those best young ones, you got their whole lives ahead of them to pay for themselves. And we got a few years of good cattle prices, I think, in front of us. The economy's looking real good, long term. Things looking good. I mean, it has its ups and downs in the stock market, but if you follow that, it's
gonna
good.
happen.
People feeling pretty good. The tariff thing, as Stan and I have talked about once in a while, the market will reflect as these tariff things take effect, and people, they go into panic, and yet then they realize, as part of the result of that, you've got a lot of these companies have committed to they're going to invest in the United States, producing their own, and avoid that problem. And it just all works together, and really long-term economy-wise, it looks pretty sound, pretty good. And so and numbers-wise, as we said, we're in good shape. Looks good to be, and as far as the effect on the market, and as I said, it's just a good time to be in the cattle business.
Yep, it
And,
sure is.
Give us a call in the South Central Regional Stockyards. We'll do everything we can to make it even more profitable for you than you ever dreamed.
All right, that's been Daryl Skiles from South Central Regional Stockyards here this morning on your hometown radio station, KSMO.
Until we're back again in 2 weeks, I hope everyone will be safe, happy, healthy, and God bless each and every one.